Blake, the noteworthy news is worth examining and diving into is what Kamala Harris did on CNN, which very well should have been just a kind of routine, here's the questions, answer them, I'm the vice president, gain some points of independence, ended up being one of the more shocking things of this entire campaign. And that says something. And we have a lot of tape to play. Blake, walk us through it.
Yeah, so last week, I had to double check. I thought it was 2 weeks ago. No, it was just last week. She went on Fox News with Bret Baier. It was a pretty combative back and forth interview. Bret asked her some tough questions. He interrupted her a few times to really push it home, and the Democrats are really unhappy about that. They were complaining about it, but it's okay. You know, it's a Fox audience. It was making a play for those never Trump conservatives. If it doesn't go great, not the end of the world. So let's just go and do another town hall with CNN. I think this is literally what they scheduled because they couldn't agree to a second debate. So she was just going to go on CNN by herself. You have Anderson Cooper, a nice, good regime liberal. He's going to ask you all the questions you want to hear, and you just get an hour and 15 with Anderson to pitch to the audience. And you know, I feel like even before we show Kamala's clips, I think the best thing to do is to just show how CNN's own liberals were reacting to it after this is over. So this is David Axelrod, a former staffer in the Obama administration, clearly wants Kamala to win, and his response was clip 98.
She doesn't want to answer a question. Her habit is to kind of go to word salad city, and she did that on a couple of answers. One was on Israel. Anderson asked a direct question, would you be stronger on Israel than Trump? And there was a 7-minute answer, but none of it related to the question he was asking.
A 7-minute answer. And not only that, there was another question also related to that where an audience member asked her how she would handle anti-Semitism on campus. And we don't have that clip, Charlie, because it is too long. Her answer was over 5 minutes long, according to the New York Times. I want to read the New York Times summary of this. This is another great one. Again, New York Times, clearly a publication that wants Kamala to win, but they have this take. Ms. Harris got one fairly straightforward question from a Jewish independent voter about how she would deal with anti-Semitism on campus. In an answer that stretched for more than 5 minutes, she briefly touched on hate crimes, but then jumped into a discursive tangent that addressed Mr. Trump's reported invocations of Hitler, his relationship with Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin, and his actions during the coronavirus pandemic. It was just all of these rambling answers. Politico is noting this, CNN is noting this, the New York Times is noting this. All the outlets that she needs to come out and, you know, just robotically say, oh, Kamala presented herself to the American people in a firm way. She stood against Trump's fascism. All of that stuff, all the people who are supposed to be on our side are saying more or less, this was a disaster. She can't define herself. She can't give a clear answer to things. We have like some of her clips that don't go for multiple minutes. We have clip 82, which is, you know, it's a question a lot of people would get during a job interview. You know, what's a shortcoming you have that you have overcome? And this is how she responds to it. Let's play number 82.
Is there something you can point to in your life, political life, or in your life in the last 4 years that you think is a mistake that you have learned from?
I mean, I've made many mistakes, and they range from, you know, if you've ever parented a child, you know, you make lots of mistakes too. In my role as vice president, I mean, I've probably worked very hard at making sure that I am well versed on issues, and I think that is very important. It's a mistake not to be well versed on an issue and feel compelled to answer a question.
Okay, that was one of the worst answers in the history. So just be clear, she does not think she's made any mistakes, and this is the easiest question to answer because you can answer it in a way where the audience would draw sympathy with you and actually gain in standing. What she should have said is, honestly, Anderson, early in my career I pushed myself too hard. And I didn't put my health first, and now I really hit a good pace, and I know my limits, and I know that I have to get my sleep, and I know that I have to, you know, carve out some time for me and for family. but I made a mistake early on in my career to push myself too hard. Great answer, right? Everyone can resonate with that. She's obviously super ambitious, right? She obviously wants to be president. That's all she had to say. That is all she had to say. Instead, that might have been, Blake, one of the worst answers in the history of interview. I mean, not only was it a non-answer, it was like, I've done nothing wrong.
It was a non-answer. It was a non-answer, and also, like, it was almost passive-aggressive at the end, but she does give an answer. Her answer is, like, sometimes it's a mistake not to try to answer questions that you're not prepared for, implicitly, like this one, and just stares at him after she says that. It's really, like, it's unbelievable. Again, we can't play the whole thing, but another thing the New York Times flagged was she would get asked about a million different issues. She would get asked about, would you expand the Supreme Court? Do you want to raise taxes on people making over $500K? Should America pay for all the benefits for the illegals crossing the border? Are you going to make Roe v. Wade federal law? What are you going to do about Gaza? Her answers boiled down to Donald Trump would be worse. And that's just her answer to everything. This is flagged by our friend Mark Halpern last night, that there's been a clear pivot by the Kamala campaign to just say the Hitler word over and over again. Donald Trump is a fascist. She did say that last night. She said Donald Trump's a fascist. He's a fascist. He's Hitler. Hitler is bad. We are anti-Hitler as the Democrats, and that's our case to the American people. And it's a jarring swerve because it's very much just trying to rally the base, and you wonder, they went from appeal to the middle with, some middle-class rhetoric, talk about expanding the child tax credit, and now 2 weeks to go, it's suddenly just Hitler, Hitler, Hitler. And I think what you've got to say is, I suspect her campaign has seen the numbers on early votes. They may have seen some internal polling, and what they're seeing is their base is feeling defeated, it's feeling not fired up, and they think, we are going to get killed unless we boost our base turnout. How do we do that? We have to make them think like the Holocaust is about to happen.